Greetings, YouTube. Danny Staten here on the Daily Dan Blog. I'm back with another comic book review. I bet nobody's been waiting on this, right? Anyway, I'm taking a look at The Vault of Horror. This is a 1991 reprint. It was reprinted from 1976, when it was reprinted from 1951. That's right, it's late 40s and early 50s. Vault of Horror Comics, an anthology of horror comics from the late 40s and early 50s, featuring such wonderful, wonderful characters as the Vault Keeper, the Old Witch, and the Crypt Keeper? Wait a minute. That don't look like the Crypt Keeper I'm familiar with, the Tales from the Crypt guy. Wait a minute, this is before all that, right? Hey, Dave, I'm taking a look at some classic good stuff today. This might run a while, Thrash. But before I get started, let me give a shout out to the king of YouTube stories. When he tells stories about Dogman and Bigfoot, I get excited. He came out with a book last year called True Cryptid Encounters, Book 1. I got it. It's been amazing. I can't wait to start checking out True Cryptid Encounters, Book 2, just out by my good friend Bigfoot, Michigan Rob, giving us the real, true horror stories of today's society. I wanted to get that out first so it wouldn't wind up being the thumbnail. Yeah. Okay, let's get started on The Vault of Horror. Check it out with this reprinted flashback to 1950s gold. Or 1950s poop. I don't know. We'll see. Inside the front cover, we get the usual, a little bit about this magazine. But since it's a reprint, we're going to learn about the artist of the issue, Wally Wood. I wonder if Robert T. Wood and Eric Wood, you know Eric Wood from Gypsy Road, formerly the Paranormal Highway here on YouTube. He's a Wood. I wonder if this guy's kin to Eric. I'm going to have to send him this and ask him. Oh my God, the article was written by Bill Pearson. Did I ever tell anybody my real name was Pearson? Uh-oh. Our first story in the tragic tales of Vault of Horror. And may I start off with saying how much I love the way this comic book looks. It's not all glossy. It's not all glary. It looks like a real comic book from the real golden age. I love original looking art. It's a reprint from that era, so should I expect less? But at least they didn't reprint it on shiny, glossy pages. Well, we start off with Ginger here. Ginger's hearing voices in her head. I hear voices in my head. Yeah, I would bust out a WWE Randy Orton theme right here. You know what? I hear voices in my head, but I don't need another copyright claim. I've got about 37 of them this month, so let's don't push my luck. Anyway, Ginger hears voices in her head. It's driving her crazy, wishing she was dead. Ginger runs, falls down steps, bangs her head, gets picked up by Ghost Marone. Ghost Marone says, hey, meet the devil. The devil smacks her around a little bit. She's wallowing in a world of spit. Yeah, that's right. Then she falls in the snow. She don't know. She's having a fit. Ah, ha, ha, ha. She hears the Joker laughing in her head. Well, she wound up in a very vicarious situation. She might hear more than voices in her head here in a minute. Oh, watch out! Anyway, I think she's having fantasies as Grandpa Moses shows up and starts tiddly-taddly touching her and poking at her with needles. But then she snaps out of it. She wakes up and realizes it's just old Dr. Bleasy. Dr. Bleasy face. Yeah. This is Mike Bleasy, 2087. And Mike Bleasy, 2087, pins her to the wall, but snap, he goes crazy, whoops out a knife and starts chasing her around the room and vanishes right before her very eyes. It's a sad truth. Ginger is a nut. So after bouncing around her apartment for 8 days, imagining all kind of horrible scenarios, she's finally found on the floor by Hank Hill. Hank Hill takes her over to the mental institution where Dr. Van Helsing hooks her up with some free therapy. As they debate her case, they realize that Ginger's a complete and total nut. Well, it's a sad ending. It's a life and sad ending. Hey, that's a good channel. It's a life and sad ending for Ginger. They all agree that Ginger's a nut and they're going to lock her up in a mental institution, but suddenly their places all change to laughing demons, and we realize that was this happening in her head too? Because she hears voices in her head, and Daniela goes, "Ah, we got you." Looks like we're going to get a lot of this Crypt Keeper this week. Yep, the Crypt. I like the new Crypt Keeper better. Anyway, I guess this one's right out of Tales from the Crypt. It's the Crypt of Terror. It's the Crypt of Terror. That's right. It's the future of Michael Harper. Michael Harper fast at work stewing up people parts in his pot when he gets popped in the back of the head by Marone. Go figure, it don't bother Harper too much because there wasn't much in there to damage with a meat cleaver. Harper goes, "Ah!" Marone laughs and runs away, but Harper's in hot pursuit. Harper spends the next hour stalking Marone like the ghost of Christmas present. I love these Christmas Carol stories, that's right. I name him Marone. I kill my friend Harper, and now his ghost is gonna haunt me and follow me around with that meat cleaver in his head, driving me crazy. Then with that, we need a commercial, and we get a commercial for EC Classic Anthologies. Weird science, weird fantasy, vault of horror, two-fisted tales, shock suspense stories, weird science, Tales from the Crypt, The Horn of Fear, Panic. Oh my God, ever one of the coolest comic books that ever existed here in these anthologies. That's something, well, seems real familiar about these kind of comic books. I just can't put my finger on what it is. So in full, wonderfully drawn panels brought to you by the Daily Dan blog, we get back to the story. Marone runs in fear as future Harper's ghost chases him around, appearing around every corner, causing him to fall into paths of panic and terror. Marone decides, I'm going to put this blindfold around my head. I'm going to put a blindfold around my head so I can't see the ghost. Then the ghost can't affect me. Well, that didn't work out good as he tripped over a beer and fell on the floor. And then, as the blindfold comes off, he sees the body laying in the floor. But the body says, "I'll show you." That's right. He's still going. He's still after you, Marone. Whatever will you do? Oh my God, and that's what happened, Doc. Suddenly he comes out of it, explaining to the doc he had been through something. What the heck? This is actually the spinny thing that shows you that, hey, this is now the future. He wakes up in a fit. He's in shock. He's reliving the nightmare. He jumps to his feet and he runs towards the window, and with a crashing dive, the doctor's all like, wow, he was absolutely mad as he lands on the street below with a splot. You can read about it here. Oh my God, splot. Well, our next story's ready to take off. It's called The Ample Sample. Here's a sweet taste of terror for you. This is appetizing from Daniela the Witch. We're going to get the story of young Jeffrey Dahmer Sr. That's right. Jeffrey Dahmer Sr. lived back in the day when you wore really cool Night Stalker hats. Jeffrey Dahmer was giving all the people in the neighborhood free samples of his beef jerky. And now Jeffrey Dahmer Sr. was a business genius. He give free samples of his meats to all the people in his neighborhood. He even catered the wedding of his friends. Young Jeffrey Dahmer was a virtuoso with the meat. He come out with his own free sampling pack, giving everybody in the town a taste of these delicious treats. It was wonderful. Wonderful how everybody in the town loved his treats. He loved his jerky. They ate it up with glee. That's right. He had become a virtual star. But deep down inside, he had a secret. That's right, Hannah. He flipped on Hannah. He cut Hannah up. He made Hannah jerky. The next morning, Hannah's husband was filing a missing persons report on Hannah. But life goes on because Jeffrey Dahmer said, "She just left town." She left town, but that day, there was a rare treat. Meat went on sale again. Wah, wah, wah. That's how it winds up. The life and sad ending of Hannah. Oh my God. Reading, reading, and reading from Michael Marone. I know he likes to read all this stuff, so I'll throw it in there. And we'll call it The Vault Keeper's Corner. And you can read some letters to the Vault Keeper if you so desire. Pause it, whatever. Won't you just call him up and see if that number still exists? Or write him a letter. And then we get commercials for rare EC offers for some really cool comic books that I think I've done covered already, right? And here's a quick horrible story for you. That's right, it's the dirty 30s, more than 60 years ago, when Papa John discovered a viral disease. A viral disease that makes people sick, drives them flat broke as he tries to develop a cure for this disease ravaging the country. He needs money, he needs help, but he cannot get the financing he needs for his medical research. He knows he can solve this problem if only he had money for his medical research. His graves are dug all around and people die and more people die. And here's a rare look at the past. I'm going to hold it real still so you can pause it and read all about these rare comic books. Facts that most people, including Chance at Nostalgic Podcast, probably don't know. Wow. Yep, there goes Fred. One by one, everybody in the village is dying. He can't get the research done. He can't find the cure. One by one, more people die. More people die. They become the walking dead with their almost dead bodies. Oh, Lord. And in the end, people show up to the village and wonder how everybody in the village died, including the professor, and everybody was gone. And oh my God, what a depressing story. And on that note, let me give a special holler out to my friend Thrash Pondo Pons. He saved every one of us. Another shout out to Dave Sunstorm and his incredible brother Steven Sunstorm. You know, the good stuff, guys. And my friend Pat McCormick at the Golden Rage of TV, as well as the other guys. You remember them, right? Like BK on the Air, Big Guys 45s. My friend Corey at Corey's Comedy Channel. My block is everywhere, Sarah. We love you, girl. The Nostalgic Pod Blast! Be sure to check out Chance. Retro Nerd Girl, Brainbenders, Banner, Chrissy, AAP, Homestead, AAP. For life. The Unapologetic Geek and Harold the Hatter, and also special shout-outs to my friend Gypsy Road Eric. Hey, check out the cover of this comic book I started with, and Bigfoot Michigan Rob for them really cool books. I should ask some more people, right? I love the way they recreate the covers for each story from the original cover story comic books, and I love science fiction. And this one's got robots in the future. It's a weird fantasy. It's a flashback to 1951. And coming out next week in 1991, you could have had the Horn of Fear. The Horn of Fear was cool. I like the Horn of Fear. That's right, but let's just start it with Space Warp. It's the story, like right out of a 1950s movie, about some guys going into space for the first time. So we get our first look at John Agar and Bob Redman. That's right, Bob Redman. We're going to call him Bob Redman because as he remembers telling this story, I guess, he's all in red or something. I don't know. That just looks horrible. I hate that. Red man art. They got some red man art there. Blondie don't even like the red man art. Him and John Agar are talking over their plans for their upcoming space mission. In one panel after another, Bob Redman and Sarah Red Woman. I get why does people keep turning red? Is that to show some kind of emotion? They don't explain that. It drives me crazy. Let's just make people red once in a while. Anyway, let's talk it over. Let's say goodbye. Let's get to the spaceship and let's get on to an adventure. I hate a long review, and this story's gonna be blah, blah, blah. Oh my God, what a dismal tale. Anyway, we're going to go into space. We're going to jump on our rocket. We're going to shoot out through space. We're going to check things out. In case you're wondering why I'm going a little bit faster, I don't want this thing to run 30 minutes for a story about some guys joyriding around the universe in their Buck Rogers rocket from 1937. When your rocket looks like something Hitler shot at England in the 1940s, you got an old look comic right there, buddy. Anyway, they joyride around the moon. They come back to Earth. They land on a hill. The farmer goes out to greet them, and they wore their suits in the spaceship. They wore their suits in the spaceship under, oh God. So in probably the most boring tale in this book, the guy with the suits under their spacesuits rode up, went around the moon, come back, landed safely, had a story to tell, and just lived happily ever after. The end. Why in the blue heck was that piece of crap? Why was that in my comic book? That was not horror. That does not belong in the vault of horror. That belongs in the vault of bullshit right there, buddy. And here we get a story that's probably going to be so crappy they couldn't even give us a comic book cover for it. It's called the Dimension Translator. That's right. He invented a Rubik's Cube box that when you spin it a certain way, it takes you from one dimension to the other, where things are just almost the same, but maybe a little bit different, where people might have a nose like that one minute and a different kind of nose the next. What? Mandela Effect comic from the 50s. So Info Panels, brought to you by the Daddy Dan blog. We get this wonderful art in this old-looking comic book from 1991, flashing back to 1951 in the Vault of Horror. And the real horror part is some of the storylines in these comics, because the art's okay, and some of the stuff is just off the chain cool, but mostly the little stories. And the guys that always are in red, I don't know what Wood's problem is making things red, but it's kind of annoying. But check this out, guys. I was having flashbacks for a second there. Hey, I wonder if the guy who made the Pinhead movies, Hellraiser with the little box, read this comic book. Because this is literally about a box. You turn a certain way that opens another dimension. Oh my God, I have found where Hellraiser was ripped off from. That's why people look different in the other dimension when he opens the thing. So you look one way in this dimension and another way in a different dimension. He has discovered the dimensional doorway. Well, I stand corrected. This story might be interesting. It might be so good it was ripped off and movies were made from it. Anyway, he decides to build a camera with the same technology so he can photograph the other dimension. And then we get the Nightmare comic book correspondence. You can check out all the correspondence in here. So once again, Info Panels brought to you by the Daily Dan blog. I'm really kind of getting a little bit on the impressed side as we discover dimensional doorways. You know, you ought to just make a ring you can wear and twist the ring in like magic. You're at Burger King or something. Anyway, we're rolling through the dimensional doorways. Check it out. In this universe, he's a giant in a giant car plucking little people around. In this universe, he's a cowboy. And in this universe, he's a magician. He can take pictures back and forth from universe to universe, and people look different in one universe and in the next universe. And oh my God, that's confusing. Well, it takes a twisted turn as he tries to drag a chick out of the other dimension. And the last thing that happened is his dimensional camera took a picture of him and the chick fighting in the portal as he vanished and his office was cleaned out. And he disappeared forever. Oh my God. Oh my God. You believe this? 1951. We've got Terminator robots from the future sent back to the past to change war history. Oh my God. This seems so familiar. As the soldiers march through the war, that's right, they're fighting the enemy. Suddenly, robots from the future show up. We're here to help you. We're robots from the future. We will help you defeat the enemy. And then the humans are all yippee-ki-yay. We got some robot help from the future, and this is totally disturbing. And so we learned a twisted tale of robots from the future that came back in time, that taught our scientists how to make weapons, that taught us the way of the future, which helped us develop radar. They helped us develop whatever in the heck he's developing here. Oh, it's the atomic bomb. Wonderful. They helped us plan it. Boom, goes Japan. We win the war. Isn't it cool how we move quickly into the future thanks to robots from the future? Wah, wah, wah. Well, the first few stories in this comic book were pretty cool. The last two stories were dismal nightmares, and I guess we're going to finish it off with another dismal nightmare. We get the story of 7 stranded castaways stuck on Gilligan's Planet. In full panels, brought to you by the Daily Dan blog, and that'll be about all you get in this 4-page piece of crap story. That's right, we get a story of 7 astronauts. 7 astronauts who crash landed on a desert planet. They have to survive the best way they can. But guess what? The planet's inhabited by monsters. So in at least a horror story ending, the astronauts, the 7 castaway astronauts here on Gilligan's Planet, are ate by the monsters. Chomp, 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 the end. Yeah, I'm just kidding. No, I'm just joking. Anyway, you get this very important announcement. That's right. Now we know it. It's Cochrane's fault. It's always a Cochrane's fault. Right, Danny? Game over. I bet this was Danny Cochrane's father. Well, for Captain Skipper and his little buddy Gilligan, this planet is going to be a challenge because it's full of monsters. They're going to have to go battle and do one-on-one battles with the monsters and take care of Mr. Howe. But luckily, they got a professor who can make advanced weaponry to help them out, which can fix the hole in the side of the ship. As the ship searches for them, they see it in the distance. Ah! They run towards the ship for help, but the ship that they ran to get help from turned out to be a different kind of monsters. And, well, it ended the way I thought it would. They all do get ate. See, that's what happens when you crash land on a space in planets and monster planets. You get ate. You don't live happily for 54 years. And then you could have voted. You could have voted the fan award for your favorite artist, inker, and writer, editor. You just filled out this slip, ripped your really cool comic book apart, and sent in this. Yeah, I guess only Putz did that. At least they didn't waste the bag. They gave you a really cool Crypt Keeper cover back. I like that. That's pretty cool. And I like the art. Overall, this wasn't the dismal nightmare I thought it was going to be. I kind of enjoyed some of the first 2 or 3 stories. I like the title characters. I like the art a lot. I like the old school look of this comic book. Yeah, on a scale of 1 to 10, it'd be a 7 for me. It's in really great shape to be 1991. It's not tremendously old, but it's old enough. And it's a reprint of a reprint of a reprint. I don't like that, but it's probably the only way I'm going to get to take a look at some of these really old classic comics here on this channel, right? So that's my look at the Vault of Horror, a reprint of a reprint of a reprint from 50s classic horror comics from 1951. I think most of these books come from. Be sure to like, subscribe, and ring the bell for me. Be sure to let me know what you thought about this piece of garbage in the comment below. And I'll get back next week with one that probably isn't this good. Probably. I don't know. Blog over, dudes.